Record. Okay, thank you so much. We are today reflecting on the sessions presented to us by Sister Joanna. So tonight's session is more of a reflection. We've learned identity part 1 and identity part 2. So today is really a reflection. There we go, Sister Jenny, your time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What I'm recalling from the session is the way that Sister Joanna was able to ask the right questions.
Wow.
To bring out the answers within us, I suppose, even if we may not have actually verbalized it on the platform, but for us to self-reflect and think about things like, I think the example I'd said earlier was, just look back in your phone at the last photograph that you took of yourself and think about what you were thinking of and what color you were wearing, and the color that you were wearing, did that reflect how you were feeling at the time? And well, for me, it personally worked because I remember I was wearing a bright orange color and I was doing a recording for the Aloe Peach product. And I had an orange top on, which I love, makes me feel good. And I realized that the orange top looked the same as the orange Aloe Peach carton. So I did this recording, and it was so good to hold on to those feelings. But just the matter of color and what we choose to wear can lift our spirits and make us feel good. But it's what I also learned was the fact that with identity, we need to try and understand and know ourselves, and not just call ourselves, oh, I'm so-and-so's mother or so-and-so's wife, but it's knowing for ourselves what we love. So it's, we had this freebie 21-day challenge. I have started it. Where you get to learn more about yourself by asking what is important to you, rather than what is important to please my children or to do what I need to for my husband or to fit in, within the framework that we are meant to be as mothers or wives or daughters. So yeah, I just felt that very powerful. I would have been willing to pay for the sessions, to be honest, that she helped us to work through. So very, very interesting. Love the freebie.
Thank you. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Sister Lauren, any thoughts?
Yeah, I second what Sister Jenny is saying about the sessions. And I have to say, for the first time, it's probably happened before, but I'm not aware of it. For the first time, we actually used the word Black women, because somehow we're not supposed to have an identity, and we have to be apologetic about who we are, and almost as though we don't have needs like others. So that was quite powerful. And yeah, I need to go over the video, because I was going in and out a little bit, but it was encouraging, the bits that I heard. And like Sister Jenny said about reflecting on a time when you felt good and why you chose that particular outfit. And yeah, those kind of positive things that I think we as women should be sharing about ourselves. And yeah, it was very encouraging. And yeah, there was a PDF which I need to print off. So there's all, yeah, it was very good, very positive.
Lovely. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for those thoughts. Sister Tuli, I don't know if you're in a position to talk.
Yes, so I missed the first session and I joined in the second one just very briefly. Most of the points have been spoken about, and I think for me, it got me thinking really that, whatever you wear in the morning kind of sets the mood, for you, whatever makes you pick what you're picking, and also the environment. And for me, I think I had chosen a video where I was in the car with my family, and I think we're going out, and I felt good in what I was wearing. And I think it also reminded us as women and as mothers about self-care, because so many times we worry about everybody else and we neglect self.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was very interesting. So
Mm.
profound.
Wow. Wow. Interesting. Really interesting. It seems like it's a theme which I've found in a lot of women. I remember when I was working in a service which was helping people to, you know, think about what challenges they face, especially their thought processes when it comes to self-care, when it comes to, you know, giving time to yourself as women. There was a pattern of how there's focus on other family members and the last person is the mom. And
Yeah.
usually the mom is the one who is, she's just saying, I don't, it's all right. I'm just going to make sure as long as the kids, as long as everybody else is fine. But then she's the one who's going to face the challenges, which is going to impact on her health. Most of the theme was how the ladies tended then to eat anyhow because they were just not bothered and they didn't have any time for themselves. So the challenge in the exercise was think of things you can do for yourself. And that was a struggle. I could see that people were struggling to think, how can I create just an hour for yourself in the day? But that was part of the therapy to say you need to create an hour just for yourself. So it's interesting how, you know, some of these things or these thoughts sort of came across of thinking of how you can prioritize yourself and self-care. That's quite interesting. Quite interesting.
Yeah, if I can add to that, you know, you may get to a place where you can give yourself an hour or even half an hour, but an hour would be lovely. But it's the how to give yourself that time without feeling guilty because you did give yourself. I think that's what I struggle with.
Right.
That
Right.
yeah, I might be needed, so I need to be always available.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah, so if anyone's got any tips on the mindset of not feeling guilty, I'd appreciate help with that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's quite interesting.
I think we instinctively think of others first. And it may start with, like, when we're first married, we're taking care of the husband first and foremost. And then the children, when we have children, they become our number one priority. And we eat their leftovers. And we just get into that kind of mental state where everybody else is placed in front of us. And as you said, it impacts not just on our time, but we start to eat. If we're eating the children's leftovers, we're not even preparing food specially for us, making sure that what we are eating is the right amount or what we really want. We want to, because we are becoming dustbins for our children.
Yeah.
So I think it's may not be just Christian women, it may be women in general. And what society dictates, we kind of go along with it, and we don't realize how important it is for us to pay attention to self and to set aside that time.
Yes, yes. I think that's quite an important fact to consider. You know, Sister Jenny there is typing, scraping the bottom of the rice and peas pot. You know, so it's that kind of challenge where we have to, and I guess it comes with, personally, I think it comes with some of the biblical principles as well, which encourage us to esteem others, you know, to do others first, you know, put others first more than us. Sometimes it can cross over that line where while it is good to do good for others, Now, when there's also a principle which says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, how much do you love yourself, So that
Yeah.
comes again another dimension of there is a need for us to prioritize and value ourselves in the eyes of God as much as we are valued by God, So I guess there is that fine line to really make sure we balance. There's no need to feel guilty. I think Sister Jenny raised a very important point. We could blame ourselves and start feeling guilty. Oh, why am I giving myself this time? But it's actually important because how are you going to love the neighbor or anybody else when you yourself, you don't value yourself that much? You're probably giving yourself second class kind of treatment. And I guess by that, it's not about going the other extreme of maybe priding and going about showing, stepping on everybody else and you are sort of the person to be focused on. I guess is that value which says, I'm a child of God, I'm important. My body is special or I am special. I need to treat myself with respect. If there are things we are doing to abuse ourselves, because it can cross over to where we begin to mistreat ourselves, which is not good. God won't appreciate us not treating ourselves, not looking after ourselves. And it comes back to our health, self-care, all those things. If you're always grumpy, tired, would that be healthy for those around? I don't think that's going to be even healthy. It sounds like it was, some themes which are coming out there are quite positive. Now, for Sister Jenny's comment about how we can not feel guilty, I think there's always a principle used in the aeroplanes. I think it was repeated to me again when we're just taking off. When the masks are going to be let down, you got to put the oxygen mask yourself as an adult before you give the child. So you will see that principle again to say, how are you going to help a child when you are struggling yourself? You need the oxygen. You make sure you got energy. Then you can make sure the oxygen mask is given to the child. So there is place for us to look after ourselves, give ourselves that 30 minutes without feeling bad, because we need to be energized, need to be feeling, better in ourselves before we go to the neighbor. The Bible tells us, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now that self need to be looked after, obviously in the God's principles. So I can see there is a comment given by Sister Ambrosa. It says it is women in general. The other day I was privileged to hear some men discussing the difference between them and women in sharing food. Women share for everyone and leave out themselves. Wow. While the men share their own food and then call everyone else to come and share for them. Yeah, so she's saying, I was thinking we women, we could balance that by sharing our food and out eat one side, then share for everyone. Okay. That's an interesting thought.
I think, sis, if I can add to what has been said already, I think sometimes we're just in autopilot mood or mode, not even thinking about what we're doing, and we kind of practice what our mothers did, what our grandmothers did, and it takes like something like maybe sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Sorry, I think somebody's logging in. So I think Sister Laureen is logging in. It's all right. You can go ahead.
Yeah, if for instance, when I started this detox recently, you did earlier on, I started to realize how important it is for me to set aside time to eat. And when I had I call it a smoothie or a shake, because I added a fruit and then took that off later on when I had my meal. So I wasn't having more calories, but it took me an hour to eat that because I was enjoying it so much and I didn't want to finish it. And I realized that I can set aside about an hour at some time of the day just to sit down and enjoy my meal.
Yeah.
And because I'm going to make an effort, I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a special effort to
Yeah.
ensure that it's healthy and it's the right kind of food and not just something I'm grabbing because I'm out of time.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, praise God for that. And you know, it's something not to feel bad about, giving yourself that time to enjoy the food, because we are to give the time to chew, make sure the body's, you know, getting the digestion, start from the chewing
Yeah.
until take the whole process. So well done. We thank God for all those, you know, efforts to look after ourselves. I think I personally as well. Oh, I think Sister Ambrosa was saying she's encouraging us, you know, when dishing food, why don't you put our food aside first and then we dish for everybody? At least we put our plate on the side, you make sure you get a balanced plate, and then you dish for everybody. Okay, sounds a good idea, you know. Okay, yeah, Sister Jenny saying self-love is what I need to develop more. Well, yeah, definitely we all have to. I think we've got moments where probably maybe our actions or behaviors before God or sin, we begin to feel guilty, and then we carry the whole thing, which can affect how we can be confident, ask, you know, to have that freeness in ourselves or clear conscience. Sometimes I feel that way. But then I always say to God, you said, come back to me, those who are heavy hearted and, you know, heavy laden. He is willing to forgive and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. All those things are the promises we need to grasp or claim or proclaim or ask. You know, some of those principles I believe can be applicable, you know, when claiming God's forgiveness, so that we get that confidence in ourselves to say, you know what, I need to move on. Whatever I've done is done. I've asked for God to help me, you know, and then we move on. Self-love. Self-love, it's quite a good word. Welcome, Sister Laureen. We're gonna hear.
Thank you, Mrs. Randa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're gonna hear from you.
I've just walked in. Sorry.
Welcome. We are really enjoying the reflect. There are some points, very wonderful points. We are recording, so we hope we're gonna share with others who didn't manage to come. Some very interesting points about the lessons given about identity. You know, on how we can get that confidence in ourselves, care for ourselves, you know, prioritize ourselves. You know, as women, sometimes we just think, right, everybody else, I'm last, you know. So we were just saying it can cross over with principles of, you know, doing others first, think about others first, esteem others first, which is what the biblical principles encourage. But on the other side, there's also love your neighbor as you love yourself. You know, if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love your neighbor? How are you going to care for others when you don't really love yourself? So there are those principles as well, which just need to be balanced by God's grace. By God's grace.
Do you mind if I found? Can I share something from this 21-day discovery?
Definitely.
I don't know if we've all gone through it, but I remember saying to Sister Joanna, I picked up the 21. It's called Becoming Me. Okay, 21-day self-discovery journey, and I remember saying, when I saw the first question, I just put it down and I couldn't carry on. And the first question is, who am I? And I just thought, wow, this is just too much to think about. You know, I haven't got to do it now. She didn't say there was a deadline. But by the time we did part 2 of identity, I was grateful that I was encouraged to be able to look at who am I. And that was because of the exercise that we had gone through in part 2. But the questions here is, you know, who am I? In case you haven't seen this booklet yet. What are the things that you do well? What are the gifts? What are your gifts and talents? And what do you like to do? So by going through those questions, it starts to put us more in the forefront so that we can accept that we don't just have to be somebody's mother or somebody's daughter or somebody's wife, but who are we as a standalone woman? So I'd encourage you to, I've only said week 1 questions, but please carry on looking into them, because just by knowing who we are, who Sister Ruda was touched on, then we've got a starting point of how to treat ourselves, I suppose, isn't it? Which links
Wow.
in with the self-love. So
Wow. I'm gonna look at that document. It sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. Sister Laureen, any lessons, any thoughts from the lessons shared?
Yeah, I want to get more into what do I like. I think that's where I lack. I lack the what do I like. Yeah, that's where I have the most problem, because I think some of the things that I like, I don't like them because I like them. I just kind of like them because of circumstances that I found myself in. You know, people whom I got along with and they like the same thing, or things that were said to me which made me think, okay, maybe I better not like this, but I better like that other thing. So I think I need to work more on asking myself questions as I go on with everything that I do. Do I really like it? Or I'm just taking it on because of some other issues. So that's what I learned, and that's what I'm trying to that's what I learned, and that's what I'm trying to do every day, to just make sure that I really like something. Because like if you don't have conviction over what you're doing, it just becomes a dangerous ground for you. You've got no stability. You've got to have conviction that, okay, I really like this. I'm very convinced that this is what I need to do because of A, B, C. And the conviction is coming from out of you, not because of whatever forced circumstances that you find yourself in. And sometimes when I speak of these other circumstances, it's not necessarily bad things, but it's sometimes even good things, but you just find yourself putting down what you like and how you like it and just taking on other things. So that's what I'm learning, and that's what I'm taking forward. I need to be asking myself questions and answering them honestly.
Honestly, no. Interesting. I think I like that question. What do you like? It makes you think the things that you like and then work on those things that you like. Now, personally, I'm seeing that some things you do it probably without thinking, but then people begin to think much about those things. Now I have to be consciously aware that somebody's watching, because each time I'm beginning to have my lunch, when it's lunchtime in work, people say, "Oh, what do you have today? You are very healthy. What do you have today?" Now I'm thinking, oh, so people keep watching what I'm eating, is it? What's happening here? Now I think I'll keep asking God to help me so that I keep doing, keep changing those health habits. So each time before I leave home, I'm consciously packing my food for the day so that I don't get sidetracked along the way. And I know that takes time. Each time I'm going to be maybe 15 minutes late because I'm trying to put everything which I need for the day. When I'm going to have my lunch, I'll have everything balanced so that I'm not going to be tempted to go when others are going to buy McDonald's or something. I've got everything which I need. And I'm beginning to enjoy that. Now I'm thinking, if this is what I really enjoy, why do I have to feel bad about it? Let me just ask God to keep helping me to shine with it. If it's going to be somebody's encouragement, so be it, by God's grace. So it begins to be something which, obviously, the first days was a challenge. Oh, thinking what people are now watching me, I can't even eat what I want, the other things. But now I'm beginning to enjoy the process, and I'm asking God to keep on to help me. So it becomes my normal self when I'm doing it. It's just something which I enjoy. And when I'm going to be sharing what I'm sharing, or I'm sure telling them, is something which I naturally want to share with them. I don't have to start feeling bad. Oh, what are they going to say? But it becomes also an opportunity to talk to people. So it's interesting to ask, those questions. What do you really like? So yeah. Thank you for those questions. I'm going to have to look at that document. Okay, we've got 5 minutes before we close.
Well,
Any
I did
thoughts?
send you the PDF, and Sister Lorraine, save you looking for it, all right?
Beautiful,
But
beautiful.
if you don't mind me speaking,
Yeah.
I did promise Sister Lorraine that I would share my birthday adventure.
Oh, we can't
So
wait.
just in case, Lauren, Thule, and Ambrosa, I've not told you this, so you've not seen my comments on Facebook because I'm learning social media a bit more now. But what I did for my 58th birthday, which was on the 17th of March, I wanted to go with my daughter back to where I was born, the hospital where I was born in Bristol, because I'm originally from Wales, but because my mother was ill, so ill that it looked as if she had TB. Her body was very skinny, apart from her tummy was big with the pregnancy. And we both had to go to a specialist doctor across the Severn Bridge in order to really for both our lives to be saved, because it was a threat that one could pass away during childbirth, and could have been me or it could have been my mother. So I went to this specialist hospital in Bristol, and so when for my birthday, I had this apprehension of, why do I want to go and do this with my daughter when the hospital might not even exist? You know, it may have been knocked down. So my daughter couldn't come in the end. She couldn't get time off. So my husband said, okay, I'll go with you. And praise God, my husband, very organized, said, let's go to the Bristol archives first of all, do some research, bring your birth certificate, and let's find out whether the hospital still stands. Okay, because I did make provisional calls before, but no one could tell me where the hospital was in 1965. Apart from Bristol Templemead. Anyway, there was a lovely young lad who helped with the research, because at that time there were 4 hospitals in Bristol Templemead, but praise God, the hospital that I was born in, the maternity hospital, still stood. So just to cut the story short, we got there. We've done a video recording, me talking, me touching the wall of the hospital. Very well kept grounds. You know, it's now become a headquarters for a care home, but very affluent area, I have to say, Clifton Downs. So what has helped me with going on this journey is when I have my low days, you know, and I feel as if, you know, there are other people that can do it better than you or whatever, you know, we go through this mindset. I just reflect back on where I came from and said, look, if the Lord has placed me in a place which is affluent, where that was my starting point, I am going to exceed now and go beyond, because I didn't come from the ghettos, if you know what I mean, because I'm telling you, these buildings, you could tell that there must have been a servant's quarter. That's how big these properties are, you know, in Clifton Downs. So it's scary, but it's good to go back and find out where you're coming from, because you know where you're starting and where you've got to get to. So it just helps me to say, look, I can be the head and not the tail. And I know the Lord says that too. So, but yeah, I am grateful for that birthday adventure. It's strengthening me and will strengthen my children to know where I've come from when the video is complete.
So this identity thing is quite long. It's quite, you know, you look origins and all those things is quite huge. It's quite huge. Yeah. I like that. Celebrate your origins. Think, yeah, me too. I think when I went back home, it's something which I'm saying I need to embrace where I came from. I know my friend used to laugh at me when we were in school. I met a friend and we were laughing. She used to say, a town where I used to stay, there was only one traffic light. And she was from the capital city. So, you know, capital city's got all the bling blings, all the lights, everything. So she would make a joke of that and laugh at me to say I'm from the village. I only know one traffic light. And we would laugh about it, you know. So when we met this time, I was saying, you know what, that traffic light, that one traffic light saved me from seeing a lot of things. So I'm beginning to be proud that I grew up in the village. You know, it's not a shame anymore. Back then, I didn't want to be known that I'm from the village. I work in the fields, you know, and no, it wasn't cool. But now, yes, I think, thank you for that. Our identity, our background, all those things are important to us.
And that one traffic light
Yes.
could have saved your life.
Yeah.
You need one traffic light to stop the vehicles. That's right.
Yes. No, it's beautiful. Sister Lauren, I don't know, you wanted to say something. I probably
Yeah, it's going back. I'll just say very quickly. So I visited my old home where I grew up as a child, and I was just walking by, just happened to be in the area, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder who lives there now. And I knocked on the door, and it turned out to be a South African family. And I explained that I lived there when I was a child, and they allowed me to go in and showed me around and showed me my old bedroom.
Wow.
And it was very emotional. And I was there until I was, 14 and a half, about nearly 15 years old. So I understand how going back can help to close, provide some closure as well. And then one of the things that I love most about me really is, as a child, I lived in the Caribbean. I lived in Jamaica. I went there when I was very young, and I lived in the village. And it's just the best memories I have of like making things out of banana leaves, or I don't know, whatever you could find, because it brings out that creativity in you.
Yes.
So those things I value them more than if I lived in the city.
Yeah.
Because when you're under those circumstances, we had kerosene and lamp. I think it makes me sound really old, but back in the 60s, we had kerosene lamp, and we had an outdoor toilet, and it was a very basic life. But I absolutely treasure it now. And whenever I get the chance, I tell everyone, I grew up in Jamaica, in rural part of Jamaica, and it was wonderful. So there you go.
Definitely. Wow. Thank you for these memories. We still have that, when I went to the village. So it's not very long ago for me. It's still there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, Sister Ruda. Did I tell you I was staying in Gweru?
You did. I remember you did say.
So I was, we went to the villages to do, because there was medical missionary, and we were helping the people in the village. So, and that was wonderful. They were so welcoming and so friendly, and just absolutely, fantastic.
See? So all these experiences, they are valid.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Definitely enriches us, and we have something to share with our children that they haven't experienced themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Growing up here in this society, and just growing up in the city in general.
I'm just curious, in the present, I know our time is up now, just a curious question. In the presentation of identity, were there any points to help us navigate the negative parts in the life along the journey, how we can, view those things as part of our identity? I'm not sure whether that was addressed. It's just me curious thinking, those bad parts or the negative parts, which probably, can come in our lives one way or the other. How to navigate.
I haven't actually got my notes with me, and I love to write, but I think it's in another notebook in the front room. But what I recall, it may be from Sister Joanna's conversation with us, or previously, or through something else called neurocycling, which Sister Lorena's introduced me to. Okay, sis? Okay. Which is amazing. That's another thing. All right. But if you hear something negative in terms of someone's opinion about you, or categorizing you in a certain mold that you may not agree with, what I have learned to do now is, because someone has that opinion of you doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So it's telling yourself that they may think that, but I know what my truth is. So that you don't take it on board and internalize it, because that's what can crush you and bring you down, believing that they could be right. So
Wow.
it's the knowing who you are, which again goes back to
Mm.
that first question and back to
Yeah.
identity. When
Yeah.
you know who you are,
Yeah.
most importantly in Christ, then irrespective of what words may come your way, it won't shape or form you because you already know who you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. We'll probably close our session. I don't know if anybody's burning with any last comment.
Can I just add, before we go, it's a strategy I've used that as like paid dividends. So I worked many years ago in an office, and my line manager was someone who just always laughing. And sometimes I look at her and think, what's she laughing about now? Later, when I left that job, I decided to do the same, and it works.
Wow.
So before I go to work, I'd will myself to laugh and to be happy. And whilst at work, I would think of something and I'd laugh.
Okay.
And I wasn't concerned about whether someone else understood, because I knew I was laughing. And I've had a few comments in the past where people say, is she okay? Or they make comments. Anyway, it's a school environment, but it never troubled me.
Yeah.
And that helped to lift my mood, my spirit on a daily basis. I'd will myself, I'm going to laugh, I'm going to smile, I'm going to be happy.
Right.
And it worked.
Wow.
It really worked. So I don't know if anyone would like to try something like that. In fact, I attended a laughing workshop many years ago. So laughter and that kind of thing is considered to be quite positive.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. That's interesting. Yes. I like the word you will too. In other words, we make the choice.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
consciously say, I'm going to be happy regardless.
Yeah.
And you consciously make that effort to be happy. And if someone thinks I'm laughing at them and they bring it to my attention, I'll just say, no, I just thought of something that made me laugh. And if they insist, then I'll tune out. It's my time. I'm going to be happy, and you're not going to take that from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Interesting. Actually, I read that in the passage somewhere this morning, I think, which was saying the willpower is or it's something about the mindset, how the mind, some of these diseases come from the mind. Because they're
Yes.
saying some of the thoughts, the way we think, it can affect, our health. So it's the decision to be willing to avoid such, let go some of the thoughts and some of the thinking patterns, and we choose to be happy. Wow. Beautiful. Sister Ambrose, I'm going to read what you say. You agree with Sister Lauren. Yes, just be you. Not everyone will like you no matter what. Yeah. I teach and some of my kids love my class. That's right. Okay. And he says it can be of dramatic nature while other kids don't like it, but it is the choices we make, isn't it? Not everyone will always agree with our choices, but we have to choose to be happy. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I think we
Can
can.
I just share what I shared with Sister Ambrosa, if you
Okay.
don't mind?
Okay.
It's our little conversation, but I'd love to share it with the rest. It's oh, Sister Ambrosa, I said, we are stronger than we think.
Right.
This type of group is what spurs us on with courage to discover more about ourselves. We are blessed to have this precious time together. So I just want to say that tonight.
Indeed, indeed. I've really learned as well. I've really learned as well. Yes, may God help us. May God help us. I'm gonna stop recording.